Steamcogs here. Today we are going to go ahead and go through a Blender tutorial. Alright, this is going to take you from never installing Blender to creating a Christmas cookie, like the one I'm going to show here, hopefully. Alright, so first step is I'm going to assume that you know how to use mouse and keyboard, and that you know how to install apps. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go to blender.org/download. I'm going to go ahead and put in description below. All right, if you're on Windows, download the Windows. If you're on any of these other versions, go ahead and download, like, if for some reason you're on a Mac or Linux, you can go ahead and download those. All right, install Blender. You should be good to go. All right, I just went through the Microsoft Store and downloaded mine. Go ahead and open it. And when you first open up Blender, it's going to have different language preferences and whatnot. Just go ahead and click whatever affirmative answer is there. All right, and then we're going to go into New File, General, right here on this little splash screen. If that ever ends up going away, you can just go ahead and click this Blender icon up here, click Splash Screen, click General. All right, then you should have this scene here ignored, and you won't have this little thing down here, the mouse. All right, that's just there so you guys can see what keybinds I'm pressing. All right, and first I want you to get familiar with navigating around. So go ahead, and if you have a 3-button mouse, you can use middle mouse. If you don't have a 3-button mouse, go up here to Edit, Preferences, and then I think Input. Yeah, emulate 3-button mouse. So if you have like a trackpad, then that'll help. All right, I have a mouse, so I'm just going to use it. So anyways, middle mouse button, just clicking that down, you can move around. All right, scroll, zoom in and out. Then if you do shift middle mouse, you can move left and right, up and down. Okay, control, that does zooming as well. Anyway, so now that we know how to move around the interface, usually a tutorial is going to tell you to select everything and delete it, which we can hit X to delete it. What I'm going to have you guys do is do Control Z to bring them back. Now you know how to delete things if you need to. And I'm actually going to select this box thing and this orb thing. This orb thing is our light. This is our camera. I'm going to hit H to hide them. You can see up here in our scene collection thing, our scene collection category over here. I'm just going to call it my object window, list, whatever you want to call it. Basically, these eye things, you can click them to show and hide everything, right? For now, we're just going to have the cube visible. So, we're going to go ahead and get our cube here, kind of centered. And we're going to get familiar with these 3 tools: move, rotate, and scale. You can hover over them and get like keybinds for each of these. You can hit G to move around or to grab your object. Control Z to get it back to the center. R, rotate, Control Z, right? Then S to scale it. What's cool is that on each of these tools, you can actually do it along one specific axis. All right. So again, to confirm, you just left mouse. Anyway, so myself reoriented here. We're going to go ahead and do S for scale and then hit Z. Then we're going to effectively squish down this cube to about the thickness that you want your Christmas cookie or regular cookie, whatever you want to do. So we should have a nice flat cube here. Now, over here underneath where you have a list of all your objects, so like the camera, the cube, the light, or here down below to this area, we got a bunch of things about our cube, so like our location, rotation, scale. Go to this orange square over here, and then just underneath it, blue wrench, click that. Now we are in our modifiers tab. What we're going to do is click on Add Modifier, generate, add modifier, generate, then go down to Subdivision Surface. Right, you can also go through and hit search and then put in subdivision surface to get it as well. And then we're going to bump both of these up to 2. Now what that did to our cube, it made it into a disc kind of shape. Another additional thing to know is if you click this monitor button here, you can toggle if it's going to be on versus off. So if you actually see it as the subdivided thing, or if you see it like it's the cube still. And this is going to be able to have us round out an object without actually having to go through ourselves and round it out. Port. This whole thing with the cube, which is now our blob, this whole thing is called our viewport. It's what we're looking into with the scene. If you go to the top left of your viewport, have object mode, edit mode, sculpt mode, blah, blah, blah. All right, we're just going to switch to edit mode. This is going to be another useful keybind. If we hit tab, we can swap between object mode, which is what we were in before, to edit mode. Now in edit mode, you see this orange box. This is still our cube, so it's kind of weird to explain. It just only looks all rounded out right now. You can go ahead and click off anywhere to deselect it. We've got these little black points. These are our vertexes. So if we select one, we can grab, move it around, and it'll stretch the blob just weirdly. All right, Control Z again. And then what we can do is hit number 3, or just go up again, top left. You'll have this, which is our vertex mode, edge mode, and then we have our face select mode, which this is one that we want to be in, and it's lines and whatnot. Anyway, I don't know why I said that. Okay, so select the bottom face, and we're going to hit I for inset, and then we're going to bring it down just a little bit till we get a nice rounded edge. Now that was a lot to cover in like one step. Basically what we did, took that face, made another face kind of in that same area, scaled it down. Now subdivision surface, this guy over here, that's gonna try to round it. Basically, if we add more faces here, it's going to pull the blob more that direction. I don't know how best to explain it. If you want a full explanation of what subdivision surface does, then a different video to explain that, because I will not be covering that in this one. Basically, subdivision surface makes it a blob, and if you add more faces, the blob kind of goes towards those faces more. Anyway, let's go ahead and hit tab to go back into object mode. We haven't even saved yet, which is a little bit of a problem. So we're going to go ahead and do Control S, can save it. All right, I'm going to call it cookie.blend. Make sure that the dot blend's there. Go ahead and click Save Blender File. Oh, I already have a file named cookie. Okay, well, anyway. Go ahead and save it like that. Okay, so now we have our cookie. What? Kind of bland. It's just a blob of dough currently. All right, if we need to, we can go ahead and hit scale along the Z to go ahead and make it a little bit flatter if you want. And that looks a bit better. Now, every time we do something major, we're going to just Control S. Sizing isn't that major, but yeah. If we get to like applying these modifiers, which again, I'll get to in a moment, just type. Applying modifiers is a scary part, so anyway. Now what we're going to do is Shift D, then hit Z. Now basically what we did is we just duplicated this key that we have. This is our original. This is our duplicated one. Okay. So we just doubled it. And then what we're going to do is scale this quite a bit down to there. What we're going to be making is a frosted cookie. So go ahead and grab it again. This time I want to line it up. It's like just on top. We can go ahead and just scale it down generally so we can still get that nice edge. I think that looks pretty good. Yeah. You're worried about this being blocky. Oh, it's fine. There's actually a style called low poly, and that's what we're going to stick with. Basically, there's like a minimal amount of faces to achieve this design. Anyway, it would be a good time to also start practicing naming things. You can double click over here on your object list to edit the name. So I'm going to call it frosting Forsting, really. Frosting. There we go. Go ahead and name this one cookie. All right. And now we're not quite done with adding stuff. We're going to go up top left, move over till you see add a. I'm going to add a mesh cylinder. Just added a pretty big cylinder. We're going to go ahead and scale it way down, bring it up on the Z. So then we're going to scale it up on the Z just a bit, scale it down to a point where you think it looks good for the size of a sprinkle. We're going to hit rotate, and I'm going to choose on the X for this. And what's nice is that we can actually put in numbers. So we can go ahead and put 90. It will rotate it 90 degrees on the X-axis. Then we hit enter, return. All right. Positioning this like right on the surface. I mean, sure, yeah, you could do it, but there is an easier way. If we go to the middle of our viewport window, have this magnet here. It's called snap. We're going to go ahead and go right next to it, the drop down menu, then click on face. Then when we turn this magnet on by clicking on it, hit G for grab, it will now snap the cylinder to the surface that we're putting it on. This just makes it easier. You don't have to worry too much about lining stuff up. And what we're going to do now is do Shift D a couple of times. And we're just going to go ahead and put sprinkles all over the place, however many you see fit, right? And we can even rearrange them if we need to. I'll try to maybe space them out a little bit. Here we go. Okay. Now we're just going to rotate them just a little bit. All right. And honestly, with this, it is totally fine. Oh, I forgot to turn off the magnet. That's why the sprinkle jumped up. So yeah, once you've gotten them all placed out, you start fine-tuning them, turn off the magnet. But yeah, anyways, what I was going to say before I was interrupted by the sprinkle just jumping up into the air was that, oh crap, I don't remember what I was going to say. I'm sure it'll come back to me. Right. It's fine if these kind of like go inside of the frosting a little bit, because that's how it is in real life. I mean, it's not like phasing into the frosting, but still. Anyway, and just kind of rotate them. You can kind of get creative if you don't tie it to a specific axis. So I'm just going to go ahead and position all of these to a point where it'll do. All right, I think gotten all my sprinkles positioned how I want them to be, right? But now we have a little bit of a problem. First of all, we have like a bajillion objects over here. Second, is that if we grab this base part, the cookie, and move it around, nothing follows it. So we need to fix that, right? First, let's go ahead and select all of our sprinkles. You can click on one, then shift click on multiple others, right? Or you can just go over to here, select one cylinder, go down to the bottom, shift, and if you have your frosting or your cookie in the middle of these, make sure to do control click to unselect them, but we want all of our sprinkles to be selected. Then we hit Control J. That joins all of those cylinders into one object. It still looks like a bunch of cylinders, but they're all together, one object. All right. And go ahead and hit Control S again, save. All right, now what we're going to do is take the sprinkles and make sure your sprinkles are selected. Shift select, I guess, on the frosting. Instead of hitting Control J, we're going to hit Control P. It'll bring up this menu. Go ahead and do Object Keep Transform. And now the sprinkles disappeared on here, but they're still visible in the viewport. What we did was that we parented the sprinkles and the frosting together. So now, if we move just the sprinkles, they'll move around. But if we move the frosting, both the sprinkles and the frosting will move around. So go ahead, undo, make sure that they're back to where you want them. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with the frosting to the cookie. So select the frosting, shift click on the cookie, do Control P, Object Keep Transform. So now, you can grab the cookie, everything moves. So, Control Z to get everything back to the center, then Control S, save. All right, so we got all of that. We've got our shape of our cookie done. Now, let's go ahead and add our materials. So, what do I mean by that? So, where we found our modifiers tab, we're going to go all the way down to this red circle. All right, material. So now we have a material here. All right, base material. We're going to go ahead and call it cookie. All right here. And if we change base color here, you'll see nothing happens. That's because we're in the wrong window for that to apply. Actually, that's good cookie color. I'm going to go ahead and I have it on HSV here. Yours might be on RGB. It really doesn't matter. As long as you have your hex value here, I'm going to go ahead and Control C on that. All right, but we want to scroll all the way down, keep scrolling to the bottom till this viewport display. Open that. Then on this color, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to just Control V, put in the hex value that I have. All right, and then there we go. We have our cookie kind of color. All right, you can adjust stuff like roughness and how metallic it is if you want to have a metallic cookie. Actually kind of looks interesting. All right, but this is only for this view. All right, we have a separate view called render view, which I just suggest taking whatever color you wanted to have it. Like you could have a green cookie if you wanted. All right, again, I'm just gonna go ahead and put that there. Okay, if you set your color here, go ahead and Control C on this. X value, go all the way up to base color here and just put that value in there. All right, that's gonna save you a little bit of headache later on. All right, but now you notice that our frosting is also cookie colored. This is okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and hit the minus sign up here. That's going to take away that material. We're going to add a new material slot. Then click new here and call it frosting. And then now, again, we can go all the way back down to the bottom to viewport display. We're going to go ahead and choose our frosting color. I'm going to go for a nice red. Then Control C on your hex value. Go back up. Base color, Control V for the hex value. Again, that's just going to save some work later on. And then for the sprinkles, I want to do something different for the sprinkles. All right, I'm going to add 2 material slots. New, I'm going to do sprinkles 1. All right, go down to viewport display, and I'm going to go ahead and make some nice green sprinkles. Go ahead and make them a little bit darker. There we go. Control C, and then Control V on the base color. All right, now on this second material slot, that's what it's called, add new, and then sprinkles 2. Sprinkles 2, there we go. And go all the way down, color, and I'm gonna go ahead and do a nice yellow, but kind of do that. And you know what, we're gonna go ahead and just make it fully metallic. Now, notice that nothing changed to that color. Also, I'm going to go ahead and copy that hex value and go ahead and put it into base color and whack that metallic up. Okay, so again, nothing changed to our sprinkles 2 material. That's because we need to assign faces to have that color. So what we're going to do is hit Tab, all right? And what might help is doing Alt-Z. This will give us X-ray mode. So we can see through objects, make sure that we're selecting the right ones. Again, click off into the middle. Now I'm going to do Shift and select the sprinkles that I want to change the color of. So do that. All right. And then over here, we're going to click Assign when we have our sprinkles 2 material selected. And now we can do Alt-Z, and then so that we can get back to regular non-X-ray view, then hit Tab. And now we have our gold sprinkles, or whatever other color you put. All right. So now we have 2 different materials on one object. You know how to do that now. All right. We have materials on one object. All right. We're covering a lot of stuff. Now, let's go ahead and add mesh and then click plane. this will give us a square that we can work with. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and scale it up to a decent size. All right, and on this, we're obviously gonna add a new material. All right, gonna call this background. And I'm gonna go ahead and do a nice bluish color. Yeah, we'll do that. Again, Control C on your X value, go back up to base color, Control V, there we go. All right, yeah, we got a nice background. And then now I'm gonna go ahead and select the cookie. We're kind of halfway through this. We're actually gonna turn on our favorite little snap feature, and we're going to grab and then do Z. That will just place the cookie right on top of our plane that we just added. All right, turn off your magnet. All right, so now we have our cookie. Let's go ahead and unhide our camera and unhide our light. For me, I don't know where they both went. Oh, there they are. Okay, so we've kind of got the start of our scene. This is a good point to go ahead and do Control S to save. All right, we did a lot. All right, and if you want to, we can go ahead and go back to our modifiers tab. And for me, it's using both CPU and GPU subdividing. Basically, that means there's a lot going on, so it needs to have extra processing power. Right? And if you're happy with like the shape of your cookie, you're good with it, go ahead and hit apply. Just go through hitting apply on all of your subdivision modifiers, which there should be only 2 in this scene. And cool little thing, if we go ahead and go into edit mode now, there we go. We actually have all of these different faces. It's no longer just a cube in this mode. So yeah, well, let's go ahead and swap over to render view, which is going to be on the top right of your viewport. All right, you have these little circles, these little spheres. Go ahead and click on viewport shading, the last option there. And this is our rendered view. Okay, so this is how it's going to look like in your render. We're getting to this point. All right, so go ahead and select our camera. Then what we're going to do is hit N, then I'm going to go to view and then lock camera to view. Right? Go ahead and hit N to get that side panel out of the way. And then we're going to hit numpad 0. This will bring us so that we are looking through what the camera sees. This orange box is what the camera is going to see in our render. So when we zoom in, it'll zoom in. All right, rotating around. And sure that we pretty much only have just the background showing. Okay, if we hit numpad 0 again, you can see we managed to move our camera. All right, I'm actually pretty happy with how that looks. All right, get to take our light. We're going to go ahead and move it around a little bit, see if we can get some better lighting. If you're a little bit of a photography nerd like me, you'll know that you'll probably want like another light or something like that. So we're going to go ahead and add light. We can do area, spotlight, the sun point. Go ahead and do area light. Grab Z. We're going to go ahead and position this to be in a good area. Just a little bit of extra bounce light. Nothing too crazy. Scale it up. All right. And if you need to increase the power of it, go down to this green light bulb. Then you can add more watts to the power and it'll be brighter. Take this off just a little bit. Okay. If you wanted your cookie to look a little bit smoother, what you can do is select your cookie and your frosting, right click, and then click Shade Smooth. Now, cookie will look a lot smoother. I mean, there's still those like little beats here and there, but the whole looks a lot smoother. Right. Now, got our lighting set up, we've got our camera set up. It is time to render out your first scene. We're going to go up to the top left, just above where it says object mode. Going to click render image. This might take a little bit. That's because it's putting out an image. And there we go. I managed to do it in 7 minutes and 17 seconds. can see the time right there. Honestly, for first render, this will get you pretty stoked. Go ahead and click on image. I'm going to do save. Then we can go ahead and save it as like d.png. Like you want to do like JPEG or something like that, which actually would be quality image. And there you go. I legit have no idea where I saved that. It wasn't on my desktop, I can tell you that much. I'm just gonna have it render image again. Yeah, it's recommended to change it to your desktop so that you can go ahead and leave it there. So there you go. You just completed your first Blender render from having Blender installed to you've made something. Alright, the goal of this video was to try to be simpler than the Blender Doughnut tutorial, although Blender Guru does cover a lot more about Blender. I just wanted this to be a tutorial before the tutorial. Anyways, hopefully you're able to learn something from this. Alright, hopefully I can actually get this video out in time and keep those cogs turning.